Welcome to Obscure Epochs Revealed, the channel that brings history to life, from the battles of the Romans to the legends of the Vikings. Here we dive into myths, cultures, and forgotten stories, concise, thrilling, and full of facts. The American frontier, a land of dust, lawlessness, and legends. In this world of open skies and unspoken justice, one boy's life would grow into myth. His name was Frank Boardman Eaton, born in 1860 in Hartford, Connecticut. His family moved west to Kansas, chasing opportunity like so many others. But when Frank was just 8 years old, his life changed forever. His father was murdered, shot down by a band of ex-Confederate guerrillas known as the Regulators. The killers rode free, leaving a child behind, staring at the dust that had once held his father's blood. An old family friend, Mose Beeman, placed a hand on the boy's shoulder and said, "My boy, may an old man's curse rest upon you if you don't try to avenge your father." Then he handed Frank a Colt Navy revolver. From that day, childhood ended, and the making of Pistol Pete began. Frank Eaton grew up fast. By 15, he was already a master of the six-shooter. He practiced for hours, his aim so true he could hit coins in mid-air or the head of a rattlesnake from yards away. At Fort Gibson in Indian Territory, U.S. cavalry soldiers challenged him to a shooting contest. The young boy outdrew them all. Their commander, astonished, gave him a name that would stay with him for life. "You're a real Pistol Pete." Armed with skill and fury, Eaton set out to find his father's killers. One by one, he hunted them across the frontier. By the age of 25 of the 6 men were dead. The last met his end over a card game. This was not the polished dueling of storybooks. It was raw, brutal justice, the kind born of grief and the lawlessness of the plains. Some say he marked 11 notches on his belt, one for each man he killed. No one can say for sure. But the legend grew, and the name Pistol Pete began to echo across Indian Territory. In the years that followed, Eaton claimed to serve as a deputy U.S. Marshal under the infamous hanging judge Isaac C. Parker. He rode the borderlands, bringing outlaws to justice in the roughest parts of the West. Whether every detail was true or not, his reputation was enough. He was said to be the fastest draw between the Mississippi and the Rockies, cool-headed, deadly, unshakable. In a land where life was cheap, Eaton's name carried weight. Not by law alone, but by the steady hand behind the gun. When the age of the gunfighter began to fade, Eaton turned his eyes to a new frontier. He joined the Oklahoma land rush of 1889, claimed a homestead near Perkins, and built a blacksmith shop. There he lived, worked, and raised a family. The man who had spent his youth chasing vengeance now shaped iron and told stories. He became known for his newspaper column, Truthful Pete Says. And though his tales grew larger with time, they carried the rhythm of the old frontier, where each man carved his story in dust and fire. In 1923, at an Armistice Day parade in Stillwater, Oklahoma, students from Oklahoma A&M College saw an elderly man riding tall in the saddle. White mustache, revolver at his side, eyes bright with memory. To them, he was the embodiment of the frontier spirit. Years later, the college adopted his likeness as their mascot. The face of Frank Eaton, the real Pistol Pete, became the symbol of Oklahoma State University. And so, the legend stepped out of history and into eternity. Frank Eaton lived to the age of 97. He watched the Wild West fade into history books, its gunfights replaced by highways and cities. When he died in 1958, it was said that the Old West died with him. Yet even now, his story remains, half truth, half myth. A reminder of the thin line between justice and vengeance, between man and legend. Every time Oklahoma State's mascot rides onto the field, Pistol Pete rides again, a ghost of the frontier, forever galloping through the heart of America's untamed past. In that dust-filled Kansas afternoon, a boy, unknowingly, began to write a story about justice, vengeance, and the Wild West itself. Perhaps next time you hear the name Pistol Pete, you'll see more than a mascot. Maybe you'll imagine the long ride, the draw of a revolver, and the man behind the legend. If you enjoyed this journey, leave a like, subscribe for more stories from the past, and tell me in the comments, Was it vengeance, law, or the making of a legend?